There's a pivotal moment in every person's life when they look into the mirror and recognize that the individual staring back isn't precisely who they believed they were destined to become. Perhaps the haunting isn't the specter of failure, but a quiet, persistent sense that something fundamentally essential has gone missing. This often manifests as a deep chasm, a disconnection between their present self and the expansive potential they could truly embody. That instant, this unique confluence of heightened self-awareness and pervasive unease, is where authentic self-transformation truly commences. Because before any observable changes manifest externally, the process initiates as a silent psychological revolution occurring deeply within. We commonly tend to conceptualize change as a singular event, a definitive decision, an abrupt breakthrough, or a clear turning point. Yet, in its profound essence, true transformation represents a comprehensive and challenging journey of deconstruction and subsequent reconstruction of one's entire mental framework. It transcends merely altering external actions. Rather, it fundamentally entails perceiving and interpreting the world through an entirely novel lens. This profound, deeply embedded internal metamorphosis is not an instantaneous occurrence. Instead, it gradually unfurls with quiet persistence, frequently necessitating periods of arduous struggle, debilitating self-doubt, and intense introspection, experiences that most individuals instinctively attempt to evade. Psychologists have, for many decades, extensively studied this complex phenomenon. Carl Jung, for instance, famously described it as individuation, the intricate process of integrating the fragmented aspects of the self into a coherent, unified whole. Abraham Maslow, on the other hand, conceptualized it as the path toward self-actualization, representing the gradual, organic unfolding of a person's complete potential once their basic needs have been sufficiently addressed. However, beyond sophisticated theories and specialized terminology, the underlying truth remains elegantly simple. Transformation truly commences when the inherent discomfort and pain associated with maintaining the status quo becomes demonstrably greater than the ingrained fear of change. Most individuals, unfortunately, never consciously reach this psychological threshold. They navigate through their lives endlessly repeating entrenched patterns, continuously executing the same emotional programs and responses largely acquired during their formative childhood years. Their life choices are frequently guided by invisible, unexamined scripts, deep-seated beliefs formed by family dynamics, cultural influences, or impactful early experiences. These ingrained beliefs gradually solidify, becoming potent psychological barriers that subtly yet powerfully dictate what they perceive as genuinely possible for themselves. Phrases such as, "I am simply not good enough," "People like me are destined not to succeed," or "It is definitively too late to embark on a new beginning," may appear innocuous. Yet, they evolve into the hidden, invisible architecture of an individual's entire existence, profoundly shaping their reality. The psychology of transformation truly activates the moment we begin to critically question these internal walls, not necessarily to immediately dismantle them, but merely to acknowledge and observe their presence. Awareness, as deceptively simple as it may sound, constitutes the very first act of profound rebellion against a mind conditioned by external forces. For, once one clearly discerns an established pattern, it is no longer capable of exerting absolute, unquestioned control over one's being. Researchers meticulously studying neuroplasticity, the remarkable capacity of the brain to continually reorganize and rewire its own neural connections, have made a truly astonishing discovery. Every instance where an individual consciously challenges an entrenched, outdated belief or a habitual behavior, their brain literally commences to alter its intricate internal wiring. New neural connections are actively formed, while older, less beneficial ones concurrently weaken. The brain, far from being an immutable fixed map, reveals itself instead as a vibrant, living, and dynamic landscape that consistently adapts to one's experiences and evolving thoughts. Transformation, when viewed through a scientific lens, is fundamentally a process of neurobiological construction. You are actively, physically reshaping the very structure of your own mind each time you consciously elect to choose differently, think divergently, and act in novel ways. But therein lies a compelling paradox. The vast majority of people desire transformation without enduring the necessary discomfort. They actively seek the rewarding outcomes of change, yet simultaneously wish to bypass the inherent friction and struggle that are indispensable for its very realization. However, from a psychological vantage point, discomfort is unequivocally not a harbinger of failure. On the contrary, it serves as a potent indicator that your brain is being compelled to diverge from its familiar, predictable pathways. It signifies the old self's diminishing grip, its gradual relinquishing of control. The ego, by its very nature, resists this process because its fundamental imperative is the preservation of stability and continuity. This is precisely why personal growth so often feels akin to chaos or profound disarray. Your intricate inner system strives tenaciously to cling to what is familiar, even when that very familiarity proves to be the restrictive force that stifles your potential. If you have ever genuinely attempted to alter a deeply ingrained habit, such as waking earlier, adopting healthier eating patterns, or cultivating a more positive mindset, you have undoubtedly experienced this powerful internal resistance. It is far more complex than mere laziness. It is, in fact, your brain's inherent mechanism diligently safeguarding its established identity. Cognitive scientists refer to this phenomenon as homeostasis, the fundamental psychological mechanism that diligently works to maintain a consistent sense of self. When your actions deviate from who you fundamentally believe yourself to be, your mind registers this as significant discomfort and instinctively endeavors to reinstate the previous equilibrium. This underscores why genuine transformation does not commence with the mere adoption of new habits. It fundamentally begins with the cultivation of a new self-concept. The ingrained identity must undergo a significant shift before new behaviors can genuinely establish and sustain themselves over time. Consider this. If you persistently perceive yourself as someone inherently disorganized, you might tidy your living space once or twice, but your brain will ultimately gravitate back towards a state of disarray. Similarly, if you firmly believe you are inherently poor with financial management, you might attempt to save diligently for a week, only to unconsciously undermine your efforts. However, when you consciously begin to affirm, "I am the type of person who consistently maintains an orderly environment," or "I am actively learning and becoming adept at managing my finances," your mind gradually starts to align itself with this newly articulated self-image. And once this deeper identity shift genuinely occurs, the corresponding behavior naturally integrates and becomes an effortless part of your being, rather than a forced effort. Transformation, therefore, is ultimately an identity project cleverly disguised as mere self-improvement. Every truly meaningful change, ranging from overcoming debilitating addictions to fostering healthier relationships, is initiated by a profound redefinition of who you fundamentally believe yourself to be. This explains the efficacy of therapeutic interventions, regular journaling, and deep introspection. These practices render the unconscious mind visible, helping you to meticulously observe the hidden beliefs and narratives that profoundly shape your daily existence. And once something previously concealed is brought into clear awareness, it invariably loses a significant portion of its coercive power. However, the transformative process is rarely, if ever, a linear progression. In actual fact, most individuals who undergo profound personal change describe it as a cyclical journey encompassing phases of progress, interspersed with periods of nagging doubt, occasional regression, followed by renewed clarity, and ultimately, a sense of fresh renewal. This trajectory closely mirrors Joseph Campbell's iconic hero's journey, where the protagonist must first bravely depart from the comforting familiarity of their known world, confront arduous inner trials, and eventually return profoundly transformed by their experiences. Psychology consistently confirms this recurrent pattern. Transformation frequently involves what is known as a liminal phase, an inherently ambiguous transitional space existing between the person you once were and the individual you are progressively becoming. It is a period characterized by uncertainty and considerable discomfort, yet it is absolutely indispensable, for without this interstitial space, there exists no fertile ground for profound rebirth. What is particularly fascinating is how the brain itself actually mirrors and participates in this very cycle. Upon entering this liminal phase, for instance, resigning from a job, concluding a significant relationship, or actively confronting an old, deeply seated trauma, your brain's default mode network experiences heightened activity. This specific region of the brain is intrinsically linked with self-reflection and the construction of narrative identity. Essentially, it represents your brain's intrinsic mechanism for actively rewriting your personal story. And every new narrative you meticulously construct about yourself, especially if consistently repeated and imbued with strong emotional resonance, begins to neurologically embed itself within your brain as your new, undeniable truth. Thus, when individuals assert that you become what you believe, they are not merely speaking in a metaphorical sense. They are, in fact, describing a precisely measurable psychological and neurobiological process. Belief is not simply a fleeting thought. It constitutes a specific pattern of neural firing that has been reiterated with sufficient frequency to be perceived as inherently true. And the sole viable means to fundamentally alter such a deeply ingrained belief is through conscious, deliberate repetition, reinforced by potent emotional conviction and corroborated by new, verifiable experiences that conclusively demonstrate to the brain that the old limiting pattern no longer accurately reflects reality. But here resides a critical catch, and it is precisely at this juncture that most transformation journeys regrettably falter. Individuals frequently attempt to achieve transformation solely through sheer willpower, coercing themselves into adopting new behaviors while stubbornly clinging to their antiquated, limiting identities. They might verbally declare, "I earnestly desire to be confident," yet simultaneously and secretly continue to perceive themselves as fundamentally insecure. They strive to project an image of strength while, internally, profoundly believing themselves to be weak and vulnerable. The subconscious mind, being acutely perceptive, does not readily accept such a performance. It is intimately familiar with the old, deeply ingrained script. This is precisely why genuine transformation necessitates truthfulness preceding effort. It is impossible to genuinely become a new version of yourself while simultaneously being dishonest about who you presently are. Radical honesty, therefore, forms the indispensable foundation of authentic transformation. This is not the kind of honesty that shames or punishes, but rather the compassionate kind that gently, yet unflinchingly, exposes the true and unfiltered state of your inner world. It involves bravely articulating, "Here is what I genuinely feel. Here are the uncomfortable truths I have persistently avoided. Here is what still causes me significant hurt." This profound level of self-honesty actively dismantles the psychological defenses that have kept you ensnared within antiquated self-defeating patterns. It is functionally equivalent to the thorough cleansing of a deep wound, initially painful and uncomfortable, but undeniably essential for true healing to commence. And when you ultimately attain this profound degree of honesty, something fundamental invariably shifts. You cease attempting to instigate change from a place of fundamental self-rejection and, instead, begin the profound process of evolving from a genuine position of self-understanding and acceptance. This constitutes a truly crucial distinction. The vast majority of self-help advice often fails because it is erroneously built upon the underlying assumption that one inherently needs to fix oneself. However, authentic psychological transformation is not about remediation or repair. It is, at its core, about integration. It involves compassionately acknowledging and embracing the disowned aspects of your being and learning to constructively work in harmony with them rather than perpetually struggling against them. For instance, consider an individual who perpetually grapples with chronic procrastination. On a superficial level, they might firmly believe that their primary need is simply for greater self-discipline. Yet, Beneath that surface, procrastination frequently serves as a deceptive veil for deeper fears, perhaps the fear of failure, the fear of success, or even a profound fear of judgment from others. When such underlying fear is recognized and met with genuine compassion rather than self-condemnation or shame, the problematic behavior itself begins to gradually dissipate. This occurs because the mind no longer perceives a necessity to protect itself through the mechanism of avoidance. In this profound sense, transformation is not an act of self-attack. Rather, it is a profound journey of self-reconciliation. This also elucidates why deep emotional awareness forms an undeniable cornerstone of any truly lasting change. You simply cannot effectively transform aspects of yourself that you steadfastly refuse to acknowledge or feel. Emotions function as vital internal signals, rich data transmitted from the subconscious mind, indicating what aspects of your inner world are misaligned or remain unhealed. Intense anger, for example, might powerfully signal that personal boundaries have been violated. Persistent sadness could point towards unresolved grief or fundamental unmet needs. Chronic anxiety might reveal a deep-seated uncertainty residing between the comfortable confines of the old self and the exhilarating yet frightening emergence of a new one. When you cultivate the ability to interpret these emotions as meaningful information, rather than compulsively suppressing them, you begin to gracefully move through them instead of remaining perpetually trapped by them. In recent psychological studies, the practices of mindfulness and self-compassion have been demonstrably shown to significantly accelerate the process of transformation by effectively diminishing the brain's innate threat response. When you deliberately approach your own internal discomfort with a sense of open curiosity rather than reflexive judgment, the amygdala, the brain's ancient fear center, experiences a significant calming effect. This calming, in turn, facilitates enhanced access to the prefrontal cortex, the sophisticated region responsible for higher-order reasoning, judicious decision-making, and long-term personal growth. Practicing genuine kindness and empathy towards yourself literally expands your inherent capacity for transformative change. The most profound and enduring transformations frequently unfold with quiet subtlety, not amidst grand, public declarations, but in the discrete internal moments when you consciously choose to act differently. You might pause deliberately before reacting impulsively. You might take a deep centering breath before uttering a word. You learn to articulate no firmly, where previously you would have acquiesced out of fear. Each of these seemingly small instances constitutes a psychological micro-revolution. They actively rewire the very fabric of your self-perception. And when a sufficient number of these micro-revolutions accumulate, the old ingrained identity gracefully recedes, supplanted by something inherently truer, demonstrably freer, and more profoundly aligned with the authentic individual you are ultimately destined to become. Yet, it remains common for us to scarcely perceive transformation as it is actively occurring. It is typically only in retrospect, when you cast your gaze backward, that you truly grasp the considerable distance you have traversed, the conversations you no longer tolerate, the intrusive thoughts that no longer exert dominance over your mind, the persistent pain that no longer fundamentally defines your existence. These are all undeniable markers of significant, deep-seated change. Aired that merely imagining oneself successfully performing a specific action activates nearly identical brain regions as actually performing the action physically. The more vividly and consistently you mentally rehearse a new identity, the more your brain progressively begins to recognize it as familiar and attainable. Consequently, you experience significantly less internal resistance when you subsequently choose to act upon that new identity in your tangible reality. You quite literally evolve into what you assiduously practice being. Nevertheless, transformation is not about adopting a facade or merely pretending. It is, more profoundly, about embodying. Pretending conveys the message, I am something I am not. Embodying, by contrast, declares, I am actively learning to live as what I already fundamentally am, beneath the distracting noise and superficial layers. This is because, deep within its core, the human psyche does not inherently yearn to become an entirely novel individual. Instead, it profoundly craves to rediscover and return to the version of itself that was always inherently whole, albeit temporarily forgotten or obscured. That is the fundamental paradox of self-transformation. It often feels like the arduous process of becoming someone distinctly different, but in profound truth, it is the journey of remembering your authentic self, the individual you truly are when the shackles of fear and conditioned responses no longer dictate your conscious choices. Numerous philosophers have illuminated this intricate process through the concept of the false self, or the persona, the protective construct one builds to navigate and survive within the complexities of the world. As children, we instinctively adapt. We meticulously learn what behaviors earn us affection and what actions help us avoid rejection. We meticulously craft a mask that allows us to fit seamlessly into our surroundings. But eventually, this carefully constructed mask becomes stifling, even suffocating. It severely limits your genuine expression, your inherent truth, and your fundamental freedom. The authentic journey of transformation commences when you actively cease identifying with that limiting mask. You begin to ask with genuine curiosity, who am I truly, beneath what I was taught or conditioned to be? That singular question alone possesses the profound capacity to dismantle decades of ingrained psychological conditioning. In the realm of therapy, this phenomenon is sometimes referred to as ego death, not in a dramatic, catastrophic sense, but rather as the gradual, gentle loosening of rigid identification with the constructed, superficial self. You progressively cease to defend your opinions with such fierce tenacity. You release the incessant need to always be demonstrably right. You stop expending energy attempting to prove your inherent worth. Instead, you begin to observe your thoughts with detachment rather than becoming completely consumed by them. And from this enlightened perspective, transformation starts to feel less like a laborious effort and more like an organic, inevitable unfolding. The more extensively you release old attachments and self-limiting beliefs, the more expansive space you concomitantly create for something genuinely authentic to spontaneously emerge. Yet, even authenticity itself is not a fixed, immutable state. It is inherently fluid, continuously adaptive. The person you are today is assuredly not the person you were 5 years ago. And this is not a contradiction. It is, in fact, the very essence of evolution. The psychology of self-transformation deeply recognizes that identity itself is an intrinsically dynamic construct. Every deeply held belief, every formative experience, every significant emotional breakthrough meticulously rewrites a fragment of your intricate internal narrative. So, rather than relentlessly pursuing a definitive final version of yourself, transformation graciously invites you to consistently live in alignment with your current evolving truth, with the profound understanding that it will continue to shift and change as you yourself do. Still, embarking upon transformation unequivocally demands courage, not the overtly dramatic cinematic kind, but the quiet, persistent, unwavering courage that manifests consistently even when no external gaze is observing. Because the act of genuinely changing yourself invariably means implicitly disappointing certain outdated versions of your past self, and occasionally it entails disappointing individuals who remain deeply identified with those former versions. You will undoubtedly encounter misunderstanding. You will experience the loss of certain connections. You might even at times question your own fundamental sanity. This is an entirely normal and expected part of the process. Growth frequently presents initially as a form of loss before it ultimately blossoms into liberation. But what you consciously relinquish in terms of comfort, you gain immeasurably in clarity. There exists also a subtle psychological law that is infrequently discussed, the law of emotional conservation. This principle posits that suppressed emotions do not simply vanish into thin air. Instead, they invariably transform into entrenched behavioral patterns, unconscious projections, or even manifest as tangible physical tension within the body. When you finally arrive at the decisive moment to consciously embark upon transformation, all those previously stored and unaddressed emotions inevitably surge to the surface. This is precisely why the experience often feels turbulent, even chaotic. It is not an indication that you are breaking. Rather, it signifies that your mind is actively releasing what it has long been holding captive. The tears, the pervasive confusion, the profound fatigue, these are not signs of inherent weakness. On the contrary, they are unmistakable indicators that a long-standing emotional backlog is finally being processed and cleared. Every such release invariably creates fertile space for profound renewal. And with each successive release, your fundamental relationship with the concept of time itself undergoes a significant alteration. The future no longer feels like some distant, elusive goal you are desperately chasing. Instead, it begins to feel like something organically unfolding, naturally emerging from the conscious choices you make in the present moment. That marks a major psychological paradigm shift, from a relentless state of striving to a more serene state of allowing. Because once you cease desperately trying to become someone, you intrinsically start being that person. You begin to act in authentic alignment with your true self, rather than from a place of desperation or frantic effort. And, quite ironically, it is often at this very juncture that change accelerates dramatically. The precise moment you relinquish the frantic chase for transformation is frequently the moment you fully embody it. Now, it is crucial to recognize that transformation is not always overtly visible to external observers. Sometimes, its manifestation takes the form of profound stillness, extended periods of silence, or even a deliberate withdrawal from social engagement. You might dedicate months to deep reflection, extensive reading, consistent journaling, or simply quiet observation. To the outside world, it might appear as though you are static, perhaps even stuck. However, internally, your neural pathways are actively reorganizing themselves. Your subconscious beliefs are undergoing a fundamental rewriting. Growth does not always announce its arrival with fanfare or discernible noise. Sometimes, the deepest and most profound revolutions occur quietly, almost imperceptibly, in the background of your daily life. And when the new self ultimately stabilizes, it possesses an uncanny, yet comforting, familiarity. You do not experience the sensation of heavy, rather. You feel as though you have finally arrived home to your authentic self. The incessant inner conflict softens and gradually dissipates. The external triggers that once held immense power over you lose their grip. You begin to respond to challenging situations with a sense of innate calm, rather than reactive defensiveness. You speak your truth honestly, without needing to meticulously rehearse your words. You navigate through the world with a profound sense of groundedness that is no longer dependent upon external outcomes. This, then, is the hallmark of psychological maturity, not the complete absence of pain or adversity, but rather the consistent presence of enlightened perspective. From a neuroscientific vantage point, this advanced stage corresponds to an increased coherence and harmonious communication between the emotional and rational centers of the brain, specifically the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex. It represents the profound integration of raw emotion with reasoned intellect, of primal instinct with elevated awareness. Your immediate reactions gradually transform into deliberate choices. Your impulsive urges evolve into profound insights. You cease being mechanically driven by unconscious, inherited patterns and consciously commence living with a clear, intentional purpose. This is precisely what psychologists signify when they discuss concepts like self-regulation and inner alignment. But even at this advanced stage, transformation continues its ceaseless journey because the self is fundamentally not a fixed destination. It is an ongoing, dynamic process of continuous adaptation. You will continue to evolve and adapt as novel challenges inevitably arise, and as new, expanded layers of awareness open themselves up to you. Transformation is not akin to ascending a rigid ladder. It is more accurately described as navigating a continuous spiral. You will revisit similar life lessons, but each time you encounter them at progressively higher levels of consciousness. The crucial difference is that with each return, you approach these lessons armed with greater wisdom, enhanced patience, and significantly less fear. There's a poignant line from the renowned psychologist Viktor Frankl that encapsulates this truth with profound clarity. He stated, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, We are challenged to change ourselves. That single declaration captures the very essence of transformation. It is the profound realization that while external control is inherently limited, internal evolution is boundless and infinite. You may not possess the ability to control every event that befalls you, but you can invariably control the meaning you ascribe to those events. And it is precisely that fundamental shift in meaning that imbues pain with its ultimate purpose. So, if you currently find yourself standing at a significant life threshold, feeling uncertain, perhaps afraid, and genuinely unsure of the person you are progressively becoming, understand that this state is an integral, necessary component of the overarching process. Confusion is not a sign of failure. It is, rather, the expansive, fertile space existing between collapsing old identities and emerging new ones. It signifies that the antiquated internal structure is gracefully dissolving, and something entirely new and vital is actively taking shape. You are not required to have every single detail comprehensively figured out. You simply need to remain present and fully awake throughout the transition. Awareness serves as the indispensable bridge connecting what once was with what is destined to be. Eventually, an extraordinary point is reached where transformation ceases to be merely something you do. It seamlessly integrates and becomes the very way you live. You transcend the perpetual need for drastic, forced changes because your life itself organically transforms into a state of continuous, effortless renewal. You gracefully outgrow old patterns without needing to exert forceful effort. You acquire new insights without consciously striving. You achieve profound healing without rushing the intricate process. And in those quiet, introspective moments, you begin to grasp a deeper truth. That transformation was never fundamentally about becoming someone extraordinary in the conventional sense. It was, instead, about the profound realization that simply being ordinary, yet profoundly conscious and fully present, is extraordinary enough in itself. The psychology of self-transformation, therefore, is ultimately not about relentlessly chasing an elusive ideal of perfection. It is about diligently cultivating profound awareness, self-compassion, and an unwavering commitment to truth. It involves aligning your internal world so deeply and harmoniously that your external reality naturally begins to reflect this profound inner coherence. It is about acquiring the wisdom and fortitude to navigate through the inherent unknowns of life without demanding explicit guarantees. Because life, in its most fundamental essence, is a ceaseless series of transformations. From the innocence of childhood to the wisdom of experience, from the grip of fear to the clarity of understanding, from the posture of self-protection to the liberation of self-expression. And if you meticulously examine your journey, you will discern that every ending you have courageously survived was, in fact, never truly an ending at all. It was, rather, a profound initiation into a deeper layer of your being. Every heartbreak, every perceived failure, every moment of profound despair was life's intricate, often painful, way of sculpting and shaping you into an individual capable of experiencing greater depth, resilience, and wisdom. The person you are progressively becoming is not merely the fortuitous result of luck or external motivation. It is, instead, the direct consequence of every courageous choice you have made to unflinchingly face yourself with profound honesty, particularly when it would have been immeasurably simpler to conceal or evade. That, in its purest form, is what transformation genuinely embodies. Not a singular dramatic breakthrough, but a continuous lifelong conversation unfolding between the individual you have been and the remarkable person you are still actively becoming. It is neither glamorous nor effortlessly easy, but it is profoundly real. And ultimately, that is the singular truth that truly matters. To live a life that is so deeply true, so profoundly aware, and so fully awake that you can declare, with unwavering conviction, I didn't merely exist, I evolved.